Well, hello, this is Carl with Blossom Hill, California Native Plants, and this is an update of our May video. It's now 2024. We have some new plants. Things look a little bit different than they do a few years ago when we took the first video, so we'll replace the past video with this new updated May version. It's about May 18th, and these are the plants that are blooming during that time. These videos, if you've watched other videos, are meant to let people know what's blooming different times of the year. Many times people come to the nursery and they want, or they see what's blooming. That's a normal thing, but we fail to see what's blooming during different months and even summer into fall. So this is meant to help with that and help with your landscaping planning. This is a nice shot at about 9 o'clock on a mid-May morning. And of course, sulfur buckwheat is front and center, and it should be. It's been blooming for about the last month. Vibrant yellow flowers, Eriogonum umbulatum. And on either side of sulfur buckwheat is a Wayne Roderick daisy, Oregeron glaucus. It's I think it's a mix or a subspecies or selection. It's a selection of seaside daisy. Very nice plant. Not as popular as I thought it would be. Blooms mid-spring, well into summer, and even with some moisture will bloom a little bit for most of the year. You can see in front here is a firecracker penstemon, Penstemon etonii. It just has its last few flowers on it from a bloom mostly during March and April. There's some other plants in the back, some we'll focus on with other shots. And what you may notice is this pink penstemon. That penstemon is a volunteer, which we get with penstemons. And it is a cross with Penstemon palmeri. Penstemon palmeri is a very nice plant, however, only lasted 2 to 3 years, so we decided not to carry that in the nursery anymore. This hybrid looks to be pretty promising. So if it continues to perform the way it is, it may come into the nursery. Not sure what name it would be. Would it be a Penstemon cross? But that is a Penstemon palmeri cross. There's a Cleveland sage in back of that. You may see that. And another penstemon, the purple one, farther in the background. And that is Penstemon grenellii. It's very close to Penstemon spectabilis. Sometimes we carry it, sometimes we don't because they're so similar. A little bit smaller, a little bit later blooming, and a nice penstemon. We'll take a quick look at that in another shot. So welcome to the video, hope you enjoy it, and let's get going. Here's another nice shot right next door to where we were. Shows foothill penstemon, Penstemon heterophilus. It looks like it's got about another 2 or 3 weeks of bloom. Here again, this started blooming a month ago, well, middle towards the end of March, and still looks very nice in many spots. You may have heard of Margarita Bop. Margarita Bop is a selection of this, or it could be a hybrid. We offer the foothill penstemon heterophilus. We haven't had much luck with Margarita Bop, although it's a really cool name. But this is foothill penstemon. In the back you'll see some showy milkweed is flowering, very nice. And in front right you'll see some plants of 5-needle thermophila. We looked at this in January, and it was blooming in January. It took a brief rest because of cold, wet weather, and now it's blooming again. It's been blooming for the last month. With some moisture, it'll continue to bloom. Very nice plant, very small. These plants are 68 years old, and here comes the resident celebrity Boo through the film. The Thermophila pentachata. Very popular, very small, delicate plant, easy to grow, no maintenance at all. Here's a nice picture of woolly sunflower, Eriophilum lanatum, Siskiyou, Northern California plant. Has done extremely well this year. First year or two, really kind of stayed asleep, but since then it's woken up, I should say, and it does really well. It has a very nice long display, and you can see it's very attractive. We're going to go over here just a little bit. Sticky monkey flower, Diplodocus aurantiacus. This is a good spot for sticky. It likes shade. It doesn't need hardly any water. When we see it in the foothills, it will be under plants, and of course it is not watered at all because California doesn't get any water during the summer. Sticky monkey flower. While we're here, we'll look at the salmon yarrow. We carried multiple colors of yarrow, white, paprika, which we may look at, and we've looked at in other videos, and this is the salmon color, just coming into full bloom, but you can see the nice salmon colored blooms there. Achillea, millefolium, salmon something, salmon colored yarrow. This is a little bit of a busy shot, but here is golden yarrow, Eriophilum convertiflorum. Here, this is another one that took a while to get going, and now it puts on a very nice display. In back of it, which we obviously didn't give enough room for it to grow, is a bladderpod. Bladderpod's a nice mid-sized shrub, about 4 foot tall, 4.5 to 5 foot wide. Very nice behavior. The scientific name is Paratoma arborea. Flowers for a long period of time. It has these, thus the name, it puts these seed pods on, but it's a very attractive plant. Very little maintenance. We've never pruned it. It sits between a coastal sunflower and a St. Catherine's lace, which is a very large buckwheat. Let's look at that one real quick, just to show you that one. St. Catherine's lace, scientific name is Eriogonum giganteum. You can see everything on top is going to be flowers. Within another week or two, this will be covered in white flowers. It's the largest buckwheat that we carry. Very attractive. The only maintenance that we do on it is to cut the flower umbels off, and they shoot up, boy, about 15-18 inches above the plant. So we trim those off, and we have a nice plant underneath after the bloom. But the bloom is what's coming. A very good pollinator. Our largest buckwheat, St. Catherine's lace. Here's another nice shot. On the lower right, you'll see another sticky monkey flower that is much more stunted than the last one we looked, Diplodocus aurantiacus. This is full, when it happens when it's put in full sun. So it's not quite as big. It likes the shade. Like I said, doesn't mind the lack of water, but does like the shade. Other plants in here, many of you will recognize the hummingbird sage, Salvia spathicea. This is the Los Politas version, which is spreading and very short. The plant is only about a foot tall in the flower go up another foot to 18 inches. You'll see a sulfur buckwheat on the left. On the right is a mid-sized buckwheat, Santa Cruz Island buckwheat, Eriogonum arborescens. That, just like St. Catherine's lace, will be blooming here within the next week or two. Cream white flowers. In the middle is a fairy duster. I don't know the scientific name right now, but it'll be on the video. And to the left of that is a rose sage. Most of our sages, and we'll look at some of them, are blooming right now. Rose sage is a desert sage. It is a summer bloomer. So it is about to do its thing in a few weeks, but that is Salvia pachyphylla. As promised, here's the look at Penstemon Grinnellii. Really like this look for this plant. Like I said, it is very similar to Penstemon spectabilis. Planted up on higher rocks, it kind of falls over the rocks and falls into the roadway and greets people as they come in to the property. Very attractive, a little bit later blooming than spectabilis, and nice display. This will go on for another month. On the right hand side, you'll see a fuchsia mexicana. This is a spreading fuchsia, and it has a month or two to go before it blooms, but it is nice if you have a rock area or something, or a low growing area of something you want plants only to grow low. This is a nice plant for that. It'll bloom summer into fall. We prune it by, well, we cut it very close to the soil. You can literally mow Mexicana if you have an area that you can do this. On the far left is Allison's blossom. We'll take a look at two plants. One is in full bloom. This is just starting. Allison's blossom is a Clevelandii white sage cross. Very nice plant. This got a little bit big last year, so we severely trimmed this, pruned it back probably 75–80%, and it's doing extremely well. And that's a good point. The more that we work with sages, the more they seem to benefit from pruning. And where they're growing, usually in our gardens, is a much more nice environment than where they come from. Many times desert, and they tend to get bigger faster than they normally do, and they can get too big and collapse. And annual pruning seems to benefit the sages quite a bit. Not every sage. Small sages, of course, you can't lump everything together. The hummingbird sage that we just looked at needs no pruning, but the larger sages seem to benefit from a pretty extensive pruning. Allison's blossom, Salvia cross. This is a shot of our nursery original Allison's blossom. This is a product of natural cross-pollination, and we've had it in other videos as well, and now offered in the nursery. It looks really nice this time of year. We think it's got about 25% white sage and 75% Cleveland sage. And it was an offspring of a Cleveland sage, and looked like it was cross-pollinated with a Vicky Romo, which is half and half. So I don't know for sure, but it appears to have the characteristics of those two plants in those proportions. This is a nice shot of Penstemon spectabilis. We had looked at Grinnellii. This is spectabilis. You can see this is a little bit earlier blooming. It's in the last 20% of its bloom cycle, but very nice shot. This is a nice shot. Here we see Allison's blossom in the back, part white sage, mostly Cleveland sage, and in front we have a very nice look at bare stem buckwheat, Eriogonum nudum. This is a Northern California selection. Mostly yellow flowers, can be cream colored, but we try for the yellow color. This is a collection of 5 plants. This looks nice grouped or as accents spread out a little bit more. Bare stem buckwheat. We're going to go to the right a little bit and take a look at Coyote Mint, Monardella villosa. This is our favorite version of Coyote Mint, and there are different versions, and we're concentrating now just on this. Different variations or different subspecies or varieties. This one has a very nice structure, very nice bush, and very nice flowering, as you can see. Has a nice aroma as well. I think this would do, this is in full sun, it's always been in full sun, but I think this would do even better in part sun with just a little bit additional water. Coyote Mint. Coyote Mint is Monardella villosa. Well, this is a nice shot, and it's easy to see what we're looking at here. This is woolly blue curls, Trichostemma lanatum. It's a southern San Joaquin Valley plant. Doesn't need much water at all. Very nice display. Really unique blooms on it. Let's see if we can get a better shot. It is pretty happy here. Here's another one that needs to be pruned back substantially each winter to keep it from getting too big. It's in a very beneficial environment, favorable environment compared to where it usually is, and it can get too big. This one is not available in the nursery all the time. It is very difficult to hold in the nursery. So if you want it, and you can get it when you can. With the overhead watering that we do in the nursery, it tends to get disease, which I guess is a good point on this. Don't put it in a place where it gets overhead water because it is not disease tolerant as some of the other native plants. We'll pan over here to the narrowleaf milkweed. On the lower left, Iris douglassiana, canyon snow iris, has a bloom still left. Had a brilliant display this last March and April. Let's go back. In back of the woolly blue curls is a black sage, Salvia mellifera. Very nice sage, very long bloom. It was one of the first sages to bloom, and it'll probably go on for quite a while. It is pretty vigorous, so it needs attention occasionally, at least once a year. But it is a very nice sage. The bees you can hear them from where we are. Between the woolly blue curls and the black sage, the buzz is audible. You may not be able to hear it on the audio, but it's very audible here. Quick look at Penstemon heterophilus, foothill penstemon. And back of that is a Yankee Point ceanothus, which is done blooming. And here's just another quick look at black sage. See if we can get some flowers in there. Here's a nice shot of Salvia clevelandii, Cleveland sage in bloom. All the sages got pretty big this year, and Salvia clevelandii is one of those. We do trim this back as others quite a bit, as I mentioned. We work with the Winifred Gilman selection, which is a little bit smaller, compact sage. We started with that and like it, so we stay with that selection of Salvia clevelandii. Well, let's take a quick look at a few more plants. In front, center, and lower right is 5-needle Thermophila. We've looked at that earlier, but at a different location. Very nice small plant. On the left hand side is alum root, Heuchera or Heuchera micrantha. And back of that you can maybe able to see a columbine, Achillea formosa. And this is part of the garden that's next to the house. This gets regular water, so these plants can handle that type of water. The Thermophila can go dry or wet. It's very versatile, very nice plant. And let's focus on that just a little bit. And back of that's a penstemon that is almost done flowering. San Jacinto beard tongue. Well, it's now May 22nd and the desert willow is in full bloom. What a nice picture. Desert willow is one of the few trees that we carry because it's just an outstanding tree. Doesn't need any water. As its name implies, it's a willow or a willow type out of the desert. Scientific name is Chelopsis linearis, and it will bloom at times throughout the summer, but I'm not sure it's as spectacular as it is right now. Really nice. This tree has a very nice structure. It does need to be pruned up, or else it'll be more of a large bush. But once you do that, it doesn't need any maintenance at all. Very, very attractive California native small tree. We'll take a look at a few different plants from this spot. This is alpine Cleveland sage, a late flowering smaller sage. It's a Cleveland sage. I'm not sure what the difference is, but this is certainly different. Smaller, blooms later. The Cleveland sage is in full bloom, and this is now just starting. Attractive plant for a little bit smaller gardens, and promises to have a bloom well into June. You can see the penstemon spectabilis in back, just finishing its bloom, and we're going to look at the Ray Hartman here. We have a larger Ray Hartman that topped out at about 10 or 12 feet. The Ray Hartman that one came off of, and the material that we have, the original Ray Hartman was much taller. So this is our attempt to showcase that a little bit better than a 10 or 12 foot. We expect this to get 14 to 16 foot like the original Ray Hartman, which fits a little bit better segment, we think, but it does need some help getting there. So we've staked this up to about 6 foot tall and are pruning off the lower branches, encouraging upward growth, and we'll continue to do that for a few years. You can see that the stem is, or the trunk is pretty narrow, so it does need that support or else it would fall over. This is, we'll keep you updated on this, or come by and take a look when you're at the nursery, but this is a good way to encourage Ray Hartman to become a taller tree. I think that with extra water, that may have been the difference between ours and the original. The original received much more water than what we usually give, but this one will get watered like the rest of this part of the garden every 10 to 12 days. Ray Hartman, a ceanothus. We've got two things to look at here. The first one is the shrub in the top of the frame. That is Fallujah paradoxa, Apache plume. Very nice this time of year. You can see the flowers and the filaments. It is a desert plant, doesn't need much water. It's good for the bees. Maybe you can see the bees on it. And the flowers turn to these filamenty type things. There's a technical name for that. We'll call it filamenty type things. And a very attractive shrub. This shrub is about 10 years old. It's 4 or 5 foot tall. There's 2 of them there, and that's probably about the same width as height. Here we have one that is not in the nursery yet. We're taking a look at it. It's horseweed. I don't know the scientific name to it, but has some it's attractive. We're going to grow it for probably another year before we make the move on it. Some nurseries do offer it. This is 2 plants here, horseweed, and the scientific name will appear on the video. I don't know it off the top of my head. Here's a shot at an old favorite, blue witch. Scientific name for this blue witch is Solanum umbelliferum incanum. Very nice plant. This part of the garden doesn't get any water at all summer, never has. And you can see maybe the silver bush lupin behind it, which of course still has some blooms on it, but the majority of its bloom was much earlier this spring. This is Salvia gracias. It's one of the ones that we're reestablishing in our nursery with a lower growing type. It's a mix between Sonomensis and another sage. More of a ground cover. Bee's Bliss was twice the height at least of this. The previous one we had wasn't as low growing as this, and this was at the La Loma Native Garden, and much more unique compared to Bee's Bliss. So we're reestablishing that population and that plant in our nursery. And these will be here available in fall of 2024. This will be a new one in fall of 2024. This is not a native to California. It's native to Texas and northern Mexico. It's a Salvia greggii. It's a popular plant. Although it's not a native, it does fit the type that we're looking for. A good pollinator, very drought tolerant, and for a sage, this offers a unique color. It seems to be very compact. This plant is about 8 months old, and this is the plant that our nursery, our plants will be, this is a mother plant to the other plants in the nursery. It's autumn sage is a common name. It may bloom in autumn in Mexico and Texas, but here it's starting to bloom in late spring. We'll keep track of this, maybe catch it in another video later in the year. Salvia greggii. Here's another shot, paprika yarrow. There is a coyote brush, Baccharis pullaris in the back. It's about 3 foot tall. This does get much bigger. You maybe can see that we've trimmed this back. I would say if you're going to plant this one, expect it to be about that tall, but about 7-8 foot wide, so give it plenty of room. John Dorley manzanita on the left hand side, already done blooming, but wanted to mention it. Paprika has a very nice color, a bright red, and then fades to a cream color, and this is a good representation of the different colors that you get with paprika. This Pozo Surf, lowly coyote brush. It's about a 4 foot tall bush by about 6 foot wide, very compact. You'll never see this bloom because the blooms are indistinct. You'll hear the bees on it before you'll notice the blooms, at least we do. This is has a reputation of being extremely resilient. One of the nicknames for it is parking lot plant. You can plant it anywhere and it'll grow. Baccharis pullaris consanguinea. I think I said that right. Pozo Surf. Here's a shot of a ceanothus. Of course, the foothill penstemon in the front. Ceanothus thriciflorus skylark. And this plant is about 3.5–4 foot tall, 6 foot wide. Latest blooming ceanothus that we have blooms May into June. Nice compact ceanothus for a smaller area. The Thriciflorus can be very large, but this selection Skylark stays very compact, needs no maintenance. Just give you a look, there's some volunteer penstemons back here. It's a nice shot. The penstemons they hybridize and volunteer, and makes a nice display. And it's kind of fun as the garden becomes a little more wild. There's some fuchsias here, not blooming of course, and then I wanted to show you in back is the hybridization and volunteers. These are monkey flowers, Diblacus, and there is a combination of sticky and red monkey flower, and they've cross-pollinated and seeded, and now make kind of a nice little bit wild display of monkey flowers during this time of year. Well, we'll end this video with a picture of common white yarrow. A nice look at the sign provided by the Native Plant Society. Achillea millefolium is the white yarrow. It's one of 4 colors that we carry, maybe not all at the same time. There's some volunteer penstemons behind. The yellow is a gum plant, volunteers. Maybe you can see that. We carry that at times, but it hasn't been a popular seller. So we probably will get back into it in the next few years and help out with that. And we'll take one final look at the desert willow. So hope you enjoyed the video. Each year we'll update a few of these as time permits, and we look forward to seeing you in fall. We are only open spring and fall, so now that it's the end of May, it's a very tough time for most natives, as many of them go dormant this time of year, or start to go dormant. But we will open back up in the middle of October, and that information will be on the website. So hope you enjoyed the video, and hope this has been helpful, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the fall.